Okay, folks, I'm back, and I put gloves on so you don't have to see my horrible chapped hands, my disgusting hands. And today, we're gonna look at something that was truly one of the highlights of my childhood. I found this sealed box at a local vintage store, and happy to throw a couple bucks back into the community, so I picked it up. Before I begin, I'm gonna give you the same disclaimer I usually do. I know that cards are sort of booming right now. I do not recommend it as a sort of long-term investment strategy. I don't think I'm gonna resell these. I'm just kind of taking a walk down memory lane. I would be very skeptical of advice to sort of put your retirement into non-sports cards. I do think if you're sitting on a bunch of them from your childhood, now's probably a good time to sell them. And there's any number of online videos that can kind of help you navigate that. I'm much more skeptical of those things, and I'm kind of just doing this to have a little bit of fun here. To give you some backstory, I loved non-sports cards. I mean, I love baseball cards too, but I kind of outgrew sports. When these came on the scene, it was just an incredible rush. I loved Star Wars, which at this point we were still in the drought years. There was not a new film on the horizon. It was just kind of coasting off the fumes from a couple of Nintendo games, and I don't believe Kenner had sort of reintroduced the figures at this point. This might have predated that. But even though I was young, this was the first card set I ever bought an entire case of. And I did that by vacuuming out people's cars. I would keep the change from it, but they would also pay me to sort of detail and clean their cars. And so I managed to save up enough money to buy an entire case. And I'm going to literally go through almost exactly the same process back then as I did now. Wearing the gloves will also have a secondary benefit of not getting oil and stuff over these pristine cards. I don't actually know if these are going for anything, if this is caught up in the craze of non-sports cards right now that's going on in the secondary market. But I know and love each and every one of these cards. I studied them extensively, so it's going to evoke a lot of feelings for me, and that's kind of the purpose of doing this video. The box says that there are foil-etched cards, 2 cards inserted in every 36 packs. So it will be interesting to see how many we get of this case. It does not actually... Oh, there's 36 packs. So I guess we're due to have about 2 foil-etched cards in this. Also, I'm realizing I kind of have a Craftsman vibe wearing these gloves, which is never a bad thing. Love the Craftsman. So let's dig into this. Also, quick shout out to these wrappers. This sort of foil in the purple and the gold. Beautiful color scheme. It was very evocative when I was a kid. And right off the bat, the first thing that's here is concept art for the Gamorrean Guard. I believe this would have been McQuarrie. Yep, Ralph McQuarrie. These cards were an incredible find. There was not a ton of resources for concept art and stuff like that back in, what year is this anyway? 93. So getting these cards sometimes was the first time you were ever seeing this behind-the-scenes art. There's also a great Klaatu design here. His name is Woof with 3 O's. These little rabbit guys, I believe they were in the Marvel comic. Hojibs, yes. Of course the Hojibs. And it's also showing you a ceramic cookie jar. This, I think, was original film or book art from the 70s. Let's see here. The popularity of villains in everyday culture was never more apparent than in the Star Wars trilogy. Editorial cartoonists had a field day making Darth Vader stand for the Soviet Union, the evil empire, and other forces of malevolence. When kids acted out the movie, everyone wanted to be the Dark Lord. This painting of Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin, and Imperial Stormtroopers by Del Nicholas became a Coca-Cola premium poster. This is incredibly ironic because George Lucas has all but stated that the Empire was supposed to be American forces in Vietnam, with the rebels being the Viet Cong. So, very interesting spin they're putting on this here. Here is more McQuarrie concept art of Hammerhead. Oh, Ron Cobb. My mistake. Ron Cobb, also a fantastic concept artist, and a comic book illustrator. Did a lot of heavy metal artwork, and famously, The Abyss. He did a lot of the Abyss work. This, I think, is a airbrush of C-3PO. Character portrait by Joe Smith. Now, here's where Star Wars Galaxy really hits its stride. It's with getting contemporary comic and graphic artists to do their takes on the characters. And you got to see stuff that you never normally would have seen at this point. This is Sam Keith, who did the Max, of course, and the Hulk, Sandman. Really fantastic. Some of these cards and the art just kind of miss for me. Some of them were transcendental to behold when I was a kid. This one, I loved Sam Keith at the time. I think at 93, Image is probably on the scene at this point. And anything by Sam Keith was great. And he has his trademark sort of big booty girls, much like Julie in the Max. This is Ken Stacy, I think. Ken Stacy, look at that. See, honestly, when I said I studied these cards religiously, I really truly mean it. I learned about all these artists through this card set, and this particular one, this Star Wars Galaxy Series 1. Ken Stacy's really fantastic artist. He's done a bunch of great covers. He did a lot of Topps Comics covers as well. I think he has a couple good ones for Jurassic Park. Definitely an illustrator I've always really liked. I think this is our first look at Womp Rats, and kind of one of the good things that Star Wars Galaxy did was they took throwaway lines from the movies and kind of showed us that for the first time. We get to see Bullseyeing Womp Rats in my T16 back home, literally thanks to Ken Stacy, and that's a great card. John Berkey's Concept, kind of a fun, more impressionistic take. I believe this is sort of vintage artwork. So that's the first pack, and already we got like a really good smattering of concept art and some of the illustrated, more contemporary pieces. So already off to a pretty great start. I'm not going to go through all 36 packs, but we'll just kind of check in every time I find something interesting. Going in for another pack. You know, no bubblegum in these either, so that probably would have been a disappointment back in the day, but here, however many years later, it's kind of a godsend. This was a good one. Alan Nunes doing Leia in disguise. Just has the right mood. Obviously a very talented illustrator. Probably a Aliens miniseries for Dark Horse. That's where I would have known his artwork from. He's a protege of Allie Williamson. Oh, and he did the Star Wars RPG games. That was really some of the only new Star Wars content that was happening back in the late 80s, early 90s was the West End games. This is McQuarrie, I think. Yeah, Ralph McQuarrie. This would have been sort of concept art. Revo and Snoodles were designed by Phil Tippett. Fantastic creative type, stop motion artist. There needs to be a definitive Phil Tippett documentary if there isn't one already, because really fantastic character. And we have some more, I think, poster art. Now this is Noriyosha Orai. I have a book of his work. He is an absolutely fantastic artist. He's a really, really fantastic artist, and I should probably do a video or a post about him at some point. As we dig through this, you will see that at a certain point, Star Wars kind of ran out of ideas and just started recycling all of McQuarrie's stuff, his concept work. This was supposed to be IG-88, I believe. You know, you see in Rebels and in Mandalorian, his stuff get recycled. His throwaway concepts are now canon and actual characters. And that really speaks to how profound McQuarrie was of a designer, that his throwaway stuff that wasn't good enough for the film, you know, perseveres some 40 years later. John Berkey. Very messy, sort of fast-paced piece. These kind of red striped cards, a little less compelling to me than the concept art or the new sort of comic artist art, because a lot of them are kind of dark and dreary, and they're obviously like repos of the original art or taken from printouts or things like that. You know, not the same sort of vibrant quality as the newer art. I've always really liked this design. I think it was a t-shirt. Luminescent poster by Jim Campbell. This famous one with Lucas. This was kind of like a late 80s, early 90s montage. It's Drew Struzan, who's, you know, arguably the best at movie posters and montages. It's funny how Lucas has went from being the villain with the prequels. I think we now recognize that, like, he is actually the heart of Star Wars, even if he's not always able to articulate it in the most cohesive or impressive way. I think we have quite a few years of Disney manufacturing Star Wars, and we see that heart is kind of missing. So, very interesting character arc for the man himself. I think now we're ready for him to start telling more Star Wars stories. And also, I just want to point out, goddamn duplicate in the same pack. Nothing makes you angrier than that. Okay, so it took several packs, almost half the case, but I did actually find my first foil etched card. Of course, it's nice and dinged in the corner. Gotta love that. I don't believe I already had this one. I do have my foil etched cards from when I was a kid, and they do make sort of montage scene when they're all put together. Walter Simonson, famous for Thor and Fantastic Four around this time. Really, truly one of the great Marvel comic artists. So here it is, Obi-Wan and Yoda. Probably two of the characters I would have been least excited to get a foil etched card of. Is it as flashy as a hologram? No, but it's got a nice sort of feel to it. I also wanted to point out a couple of cards that I've come across. I've opened probably about 30 packs now, I think. Close to finishing off the whole case. And there are a couple that really stick out to me that I wanted to highlight. This concept art, I believe this is McQuarrie as well. Yep, it's McQuarrie. Showing an early concept of the Emperor. Given that Star Wars and Disney reused so much of McQuarrie's concepts, wouldn't this have been a much more interesting villain than, God, I can't even remember his name, than the guy who looks like a Gold member from Austin Powers. He's so forgettable, I can't even remember his name. The villain of the second of the new trilogy, Snoke. God, terrible name too. If you're going to just wholesale regurgitate all of McQuarrie stuff, that's your pick right there. Or even the sort of regenerated Emperor from The Last Jedi. Guys, you missed a beat here. This is fantastic. I remember this card was particularly terrifying to me. It just looked so menacing. So, there you go, Disney, another missed opportunity. Speaking of, terrifying cards, this one is incredibly evocative. This is John J. Muth, Havoc and Wolverine Meltdown. Okay, really, really fantastic, very moody, fully painted comic. I don't even think I need to describe why this is so kind of terrifying, but really beautiful color scheme, beautiful rendering. I always was sort of abjectly terrified by this card and really ensorcelled by it at the same time. This is another one. I think they use this in a lot of the promo. Dave Dorman, probably second only to Drew Struzan in terms of awesome movie poster artists. It's just great to see all these droids hanging out. This is another fun one. I don't remember the artist. Steve Ditko, Spider-Man fame. Just a fun, kind of funky take on the droids. I really liked this card and had forgotten all about it until I just opened this pack and immediately was sort of filled with feelings of joy. William Stout, who is another fantastic concept artist. I believe he did the He-Man live-action film costumes. He did some work on Jurassic Park. Ray Bradbury comics for Topps. Really good at drawing nature and dinosaurs. William Stout is absolutely one of the all-time greats, right up there with Ron Cobb and Ralph McQuarrie. Dave Stevens, he is also the creator of Rocketeer. I believe he passed away soon after this. But yeah, he's the creator of Rocketeer. Has a really great sort of vintage style to all his artwork, and I think he's done a perfect depiction of Luke in his youth here. Now, this was one of my all-time favorite cards, Jeff Darrow of Rusty and Big Guy, Hard Boiled. Just one of those highly detail-oriented artists like Mobius. And I loved Hoth scenes. I love the Probots. And, this is just a perfect artist putting together a perfect scene. This is another Orai artwork, that Japanese artist I was mentioning. I got to dig out his art book that I bought in Japan because it is fantastic. It covers all the females of myths. He's the master of the montage and such a wonderful painter. 2-1B concept art, but very cool and also kind of terrifying potential look for 2-1B, the medical droid. Then you got the greatest of all time, Mobius. He is C-3PO as the sort of centerpiece, which is an odd take, but you gotta love it. Tiny Detail is the name of the game. I believe this is a Rancor concept. This is a Quarren concept. No, early Rancor monster by Joe Johnson, who would later go on to direct Captain America. He designed Boba Fett as well. I got the sort of intro card, which has a table of contents, thankfully. You could get lost otherwise. Very important to have that. Mignola, come on. What's not to love about this? They use this on the marketing for the line, which is very smart. Just a fantastic piece. And really, is this pre-Hellboy? They don't mention Hellboy on the back, so this might be pre-Hellboy. He was truly like a hidden gem waiting. Cosmic Odyssey, fantastic DC comic. Gotham by Gaslight. And the Bram Stoker Dracula for Topps. Topps did some pretty damn good comics back in the day. This is Jim Valentino, Shadowhawk. Oh, so Image was on the scene at this point, for sure. Yeah, just a really strong sort of drawing. And I like the sort of lightning effect. I always loved the trash compactor scene, and this was kind of a fun one. This is Fastener and Larson. I'm not familiar with them at all. They're trend-setting barbarian babe. Okay. This is another one that was like very evocative and spooky, and not really on model for the characters, but it didn't matter to me. Bo Hampton, who I am not familiar with, seems to be a British-based artist. I wanted to do Han Solo and Dagobah mainly because I like the character and I like the planet. Will Eisner was his teacher. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of his other work, but I always really liked this card, and it was a lot of fun. That's all I want to show you guys. I'm going to enjoy opening the rest of these and taking these damn gloves off because it makes your hands very sweaty. I'm not sure how Craftsman does it, honestly. But I want to hear from you guys. Did you collect this line as well? Do you have all the same fuzzy memories about them? Will I find another foil-etched card? Time will tell. But thank you for watching my look at Star Wars Galaxy Series 1. And the only thing left to say is pizza out.